Today's a good day. Today is such a good day. Do you see all the boxes? Do you see all the boxes? Do you know what that means? It means our front mount's here. Our front mount is here. It's here, which means we can get the front mount on the car. Now, I did opt for the Cobb front mount just because it's primarily what I could find in stock, just because we are a little hard pressed for time with our tune. So, and we got another box. We got another box of goodies too. We got our Killer Bee header. So you guys have already seen those before. I've installed the Killer Bee header on the 17 STI. As you remember, we originally had the parent one kind of set aside for the car, but the fitment on it was very bad on the GD chassis. I did do a couple things off camera that I do want to show you guys today, but today's video is primarily all going to be installing the Cobb front mount intercooler. So let me get all these boxes open. Well, first of all, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to the channel. So let me get all of these boxes open, the intercooler kind of set out, so that way we can see what we're working with here. Once we get everything opened and laid out, I do want to show you guys what I just did on the motor before I started filming, and then we'll get into installing this thing. So many boxes. Let's do this box first. It looks like our crash beam. Who is the evil person at Cobb that did this? How do I get this out? All right. Intercooler core. All right, that's a flange. And I'm guessing hot side. And hot side piping. Bro, that is a lot of trash. So here is our front mount. So we have the crash beam, some random hoses and bolts, our bypass valve adapter, the intercooler core. These are the cold side piping and the hot side piping. So pretty standard for a front mount, just came in a lot of boxes. This box is the coolant overflow tank, which I don't know if I'm gonna be using that or not, mainly because I have the Killer Bee one up already in there. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I'm using that one at all. We'll get to installing this here in a second. We're probably gonna start with that from an intercooler core. But what I got done today off camera was I got the upper coolant reservoir put back in. I did get the new O-rings for the injectors. I got that stuff put back in. So it's just mainly bolting small things back up in there, just so that way once this came in, we could just like get it slapped on the car. And then to show you guys just a little bit better on the Killer Bee header. So I mean, it's a Killer Bee header. It's the same one I ran in the 17 STI. Really good quality, really good results, really good fitment with that one as well. And then the last thing that I did off camera was, I don't really know if you're gonna see it, but down there on the radiator fan, I kind of trimmed up all of the like excess stuff that was hanging off of it that may sit close to the header, so that way the fans just don't melt or anything like that. So let's get into this front mount install. I believe those bolts are to bolt the front mount up to the crash bar. So let me get this stuff like dragged out in front of the car. Let me bring the jack up, because we're gonna use the jack to hold the intercooler up while we bolt it down to the actual frame of the car. Once we get that bolted down, then we can start getting like piping ran. I know we're gonna have to do some trimming on the bumper. Apparently Cobb gives you a stencil. It's probably in one of these boxes. And I guess I should throw this out there. They do give you this stencil if you want to spray paint Cobb on the intercooler. I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it like black so that way it blends in. So let's get the core like bolted up here. Yo, that thing is massive. This thing is sick, and it's like sturdy. So it bolts up with one bolt right there, one bolt right there. And then down here on the bottom, there's one bolt right there, and then another one like right back there. They bolt up to the frame. So as you guys saw, you do have to trim the bumper like core support area a little bit right down there, just for intercooler clearance. So if you don't have a grinder, get a grinder. Just be very careful with them, because I did burn a hole through my glove, and it burnt the ever-living hell out of my hand. Like, I don't really know if you guys can see that hole, but be careful using a grinder. So I'm following Cobb's instructions on this just to make life a little bit easier. So now that we have the core mounted, they want us to do the hot side of the piping first. So let me get this somewhat situated and figured out. We'll start to get the hot side piping ran up to the turbo up there. And once I kind of have the configuration figured out, I'll walk you guys through it. I'm assuming it's gonna be like coupler, pipe, pipe, coupler, coupler, pipe, pipe, pipe. So apparently this front mount intercooler is also supposed to fit with the SF intake and the SF intake box. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of trimming with the box. I already know Cobb like states it in their instructions, but let me start to get this piping worked out on the hot side, and then we can jump over to the cold side. So progress has been made. We have first hot pipe up and in here. It bolts up to where the old like stock snorkel thing bolted up. So that's nice. The pipe's like incredibly secure. Since we're using the Cobb SF intake, I went ahead and I already trimmed up the intake box. They told me it said in the packaging that there'd be a stencil. I never got the stencil. So I just kind of looked at what they had in the picture, and you just kind of like cut out like this weird, I don't want to say vagina shape, but it's kind of like a vagina shape, like teardrop shape. I don't know what shape you call that. But we got that cut out. They only gave me enough of the silicone rubber for half of that, so you know, it is what it is. So now I'm gonna get the box kind of bolted up in here. This piping will slide right through the box, go right on our coupler right there, and on the other side of the piping, obviously, and then it'll connect up to our 90 up there on the turbo. So I'm gonna run through and get all that done. We'll see how it fits with the box, and hopefully it's like solid. Friendly reminder, everyone, even though you're wearing safety glasses, like these are glasses now, even though you're wearing safety glasses, aluminum can still get past them or anything that you're cutting. So just remember to always wear your PPE, because I had a piece of aluminum just launch into my eye, and I had to go like, I literally had to like flip my eyelid upside down to like go get it out, like rinse my eye out. 10 out of 10, not a fan. So we're rocking glasses for the rest of this one. So cold side or hot side piping is done on the STI now. The box took a little bit more trimming for me to get it in there with the intercooler piping. I'm not gonna bolt everything down quite yet, just because we still have to get the downpipe on the car, and it's gonna be a lot easier to get the downpipe on to be able to get the bolts from the top with the hot side piping off, but it is mocked up right now. So starting from the intercooler, obviously a coupler, the pipe goes up, goes behind the fender, and then comes out where your stock snorkel intake box thing went. 2 clamps and a coupler, obviously, and then the other side of the hot piping, which goes through that hole that we cut back there, wraps out right here, and then wraps up down to our turbo right there. It's gonna take you a little finoodling, but clearance is pretty good, even with the IAG AOS, like nothing is getting in the way. So honestly, 10 out of 10 on fitment for that from Cobb for the fitment with the box and the IAG air oil separator. I'm a big fan of being able to run a box with a front mount just to keep, oh, that moves quite a bit, just to keep IATs down as low as possible. We are gonna be running the stock box that goes like up here to the actual intake box, but hot side is done. I'm pretty happy with it, and the wrinkle black finish matches the intake box like spot on. So now we're gonna jump over to the cold side. So I heard that there's a little bit of fitment issues with the cold side regarding this AC line right here. If that's the case, we'll finoodle it in there. This reservoir should definitely help keep the issues at minimum. So once again, thank you Killer B for the dual reservoir. I do have the Cobb one over there. If for some reason this Killer B one doesn't work, but I suspect it will work for obvious reasons. So on the cold side, we're gonna go from the intercooler. It's gonna go up somewhere up here. It's gonna connect up to our bypass valve. It's gonna connect up to our throttle body. There is an independent IAT sensor that we are gonna have to put in the intercooler piping for the Visconti tuning hybrid speed density kit, which I seem to have lost the wiring for in here right now, but it's whatever, I'll find it in a minute. So let me get started over here. Once I get kind of the piping figured out, I'll walk you guys through it. But for now, it's gonna be a lot of test fitting and probably more trimming and cutting. Sweet, our cold side is in. This was a pain. The cold side, let me tell you, was a straight up pain. So the issue that I was having is I was trying to put this pipe in backwards and that pipe in backwards. Cobb doesn't really give you a good explanation, but if you guys are going to be using this kit, this Cobb one, the side that's longer for this little U piece, the longer side goes to the intercooler, the shorter side hangs out down there. And then with this pipe, the side with the 90-degree bend goes on the bottom, and the part with like the 30-degree bend goes up here. It's just a little bit of a pain. Looks like it fits both ways, and it doesn't. I could have had it connected backwards. Like, I was close. I was really trying to get it in there. But now that our cold side is done, our bypass valve is mounted up, you guys, like, it is looking almost like a complete STI at this point. I was really trying to keep like all wires like away from going over the top of the manifold, but that hybrid speed density one, it's just a relocated IAT bung that goes right up there. That one, there's just the wire wasn't long enough for me to hide it. So tomorrow when we get the downpipe and the header on, we can put the intake back in. Like I said, I do need to take this pipe back out just to be able to tighten down the downpipe to the turbo, but we almost have like a fully assembled engine at this point. I can go ahead and reconnect up the battery again, which I actually might do here in a minute. But right now we need to trim that bumper. So Cobb's supposed to give you a template for this. They didn't give me a template, so I'm going to be referencing my phone to see the areas that I need to trim. Speaking of trimming with the cold side, there's only one spot you have to trim, and it's just your splash guard right down there, just for the piping to be able to go through it. Aside from that, there's no trimming you have to do on the cold side. This reservoir from Killer Bee definitely helped clear up room just because the stock one came out a little bit far. But you guys, like, it's there, it's happening. It's so close to being able to start. We just need to throw the bumper back on, get the header on, and the, ooh, I'm so excited, so excited. So let me figure out this bumper trimming thing, and same thing like I've been doing, I'll walk you guys through like where everything goes, what you need to trim, what you don't need to trim. But for the most part, we've only had to trim 3 things, and that was behind the intercooler core, that little piece down there, the intake box, and the little like splash guard piece down there. Oh, and there was a small bracket I had to cut off too, like right here, just to be able to clear the intercooler piping a little bit more. But let's get this bumper trimmed and get it fitted up. It is the next day now. There was a lot more trimming involved with this bumper than I initially thought. Like, I cut up a decent amount of this bumper, like a decent amount. It needs a new bumper anyway, so I'm not too concerned about cutting it up. My cuts are not the best because the ones that you just saw me do, I did with a knife, so the knife did get away from me a couple times. But I noticed with the Dremel, it would just like continuously flung around a whole bunch of like plastic material. Don't know why. I need one of those little like automated saw guys where it's like bzzz, and it just like cuts it a straight line. But let me show you guys like the trimming you're gonna have to do on this bumper to get this thing to fit. So you're gonna have to cut out both of the fog lights, the actual like bezel covers for them. I ended up zip tying on the fog light covers over here just so I wouldn't lose them. After cutting all of this up, it just lost a little bit of structural integrity, and I didn't want those coming out. On this backside, you're gonna have to cut off pretty much all of it, with the extent of maybe just leaving that tiny lip up there. Like I said, my cuts are not the best. You can definitely see right up there and right over there, they have a little bit of marring on them. I'm gonna get some touch-up paint to be able to touch those up, but it's no big deal to me. I'm more of shooting for function here rather than looks. But aside from that, that's pretty much all you have to trim off the bumper. What you guys just saw me trim off this piece, you don't need to cut this off. The whole reason I did was to get more airflow to the intercooler. Like I said, function, I just want it to work exceptionally well. So now that the bumper is actually trimmed up, I want to get the bumper permanently put back on the car because the downpipe gets dropped off today, and so does the turbo blanket. So that means we can pretty much wrap up everything that we've got going on up here in the engine bay, with the exception of that Y fitting. I'm still waiting for that to come in. But I just want to start getting things wrapped up so that way we can drive the car. So let's get the bumper installed back on the car and see how it looks. So in order for the hood to close all the way, you do have to take off this upper intercooler shroud piece that just kind of directs flow to the intercooler. Now, on these GD chassis, you have an intercooler sprayer. There's a small button inside of the cabin. If I can hit, boom, right there, intercooler spray. You got a big reservoir in the back. So I want to try to retain the intercooler sprayer. So right now, I've got the hose for the intercooler sprayer added on with a like an extension that I put on here. So I'm trying to find a way to mount up the intercooler sprayer to the bumper, because it is this little like nozzle guy right there. If it'll focus on the nozzle guy, it's this little nozzle. So I'm trying to figure out a way to be able to like secure it to the backside of the bumper. I'm trying to think, like, it's got to be like somewhere right here on the backside, and I don't want to have to drill holes through there if I can avoid it. So I'm gonna play with this a little bit. If I can find a way to do it, I'll definitely show you guys, because this would be really cool to be able to retain. Just have our little intercooler sprayer to be able to spray the front mount if we're sitting in traffic, or maybe we're out at the track. I don't know, but I want to try to keep this. So let's finagle a way to get this to fit. So as you guys saw, I just slathered JB Weld all over that thing. It's on there pretty good. I don't think it's gonna come off, so we're gonna go ahead and give her a hookup and see if it works. Well, I'm gonna get the bumper put back on the car first. I have this other little T-fitting right here, which I'll probably put like right up there, so that way we can get access to it once the bumper is on, but I'm curious. Let's see if it works. Okay, so I have no idea if it's going to work or not, but the intercooler sprayer is right here in the middle of the bumper, and it's facing the intercooler. So in theory, when I go to push the button, water should spit out. I'm curious. Let's do it. I want to do it. I'm gonna do it. Oh! Oh, that's amazing! That is amazing! It works! Woo-hoo-hoo! It kind of only sprays like right here, but you know what? I guess it's better than nothing, and I guess it's still functional. That is beautiful. Maybe, well, I mean, then again, I guess it is designed for a small top mount intercooler, but you know, it still works. So there we go, you guys. Cobb front mount intercooler on the car. Fitment is pretty spot on with it. I'm pretty happy with the way that it came out. I'm glad I was able to figure out a way to be able to keep the intercooler sprayer, because it's kind of a cool feature to be able to have on there, even with the front mount intercooler. Even though it only sprays like maybe a quarter of the front mount, still kind of a cool concept, right? I don't know if I'll ever use it, but you know, it's there if I do want to use it. So anyways, I hope this helps you guys out with your front mount intercooler installs as well. If you guys are doing a similar one, just keep in mind, if you have a GD chassis 02 to 07, you're probably going to have to do trimming regardless of what front mount intercooler kit you get. Just keep that in mind. But I mean, they look good and they're functional. Plus, with how that black intercooler core looks, you can't even see the front mount down there, which is beautiful. I love it. It does retain the sleeper-esque look that we've kind of been going for here. So anyways, downpipe showed up, so did the turbo blanket. So we are pretty much good to go for all installs at this point. I need to pick up a couple fluids, a couple small hoses, and then we're golden to start the car, you guys. So anyways, that's all I got for you guys on this one. If you like the video, you know what to do. To go ahead, hit that like button, turn it blue, green, black, orange, white, silver, gold, chartreuse, turquoise, aqua, chaparral. I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit your boy up one of these corners. No idea which one I'll put it in quite yet, because you don't want to miss that car hitting the dyno, and you don't want to miss that car making over 1,000 wheel horsepower. But with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies.